Another thing that I, surely want to tell you about is the cobia run that we had last year. I mean, we had days where there was big schools of cobias. The cobia is a big brown sporting fish. It's very good to eat. It looks like a catfish. And we usually get a good run of them in May. And it's usually towards the very end of May, the 1st of June. But last year, and any year that we have big schools of menhaden baitfish on our beach fronts, those cobias will follow the schools of baitfish and just simply follow them around like a pack of dogs. So the last, midway through May, start going out on the beach when you're doing your Spanish fishing. If you see pelicans diving in the ocean, you know something's going on, because pelicans don't eat glass minnows like the seagulls and all the other little birds and terns and frigates or whatever. They eat bigger baits. They need a big pogey. So the way to identify these schools is you'll be out doing other things, but if you see a bunch of pelicans dive bombing behind the breakers or in the ocean somewhere, you need to drive over, put your boat in neutral when you're done Spanish fishing, inspect this, and look. Because when you pull right up on that school, you'll see these cobias just wallowing in these big old schools of menhaden, just laying all in them, wiggling. And they readily take a bucktail. I don't know why, but about 90% of the time, if you see a cobia in those bay balls, he's going to eat anything you throw to him, but they love a bucktail jig. Bucktails, you can spin a lot or a little. They make some really nice ones at Blue Water Candy. These right here are actually cobia jigs. This being a 1 ounce, I kind of like a 2 ounce. I couldn't get that in a 2 today. But also, a spro jig is a good example. And when you're fishing for those cobias and looking for them, you're going to want to find you a little heavier outfit than your standard trout rod. And that's a 3,000. This is an 8,000. And a 6 would probably be plenty big enough. But I think everybody should invest in a couple bigger, stouter spinning outfits like this that facilitate 50-pound line, braided line that's going to be the diameter of about 18 or 20. And this, I put 40-pound mono, tied in the same way, and a big spro jig, and a big old white worm trailer. Now, I pitched this at plenty of cobias, and they don't turn it down. When they see it, they charge after it and grab it. So when you see one, you make an accurate cast. Don't throw right and hit him in the head with it. Throw it beyond him, drag it to him, try to calm yourself, bring this thing to him. When he gets sight of it, he's going to go right over and eat it. Set the hook and then follow after it. Having a couple guys doing this, one guy, kind of standing, looking, finding the bait fish, looking at every time you pull up on a school, we have 2 guys looking. Sometimes they might go down when you pull up on them, but usually they'll sit right there at the top. And when these big schools of menhaden are on the beachfront like they were last spring, you'll just see them sometimes just cruising. The cobias like to hang out with sea turtles, which the sea turtles are on their way in to start getting ready to nest. So they're going to, if you see a big sea turtle sitting out there basking in the ocean, cruise over to him. If he stays up on the top, make sure you have one of these rods handy. And I'd say from about the 3rd week of April through the middle of June, you should definitely have a heavy outfit with a bucktail ready to go at your side every time you're in the ocean. Because you never know when one of these cobias is going to cruise it up, and you don't want to have to get ready. And if you just have one of these ready throughout the whole spring, when you get your opportunity, you can pitch it right to him, and he's going to eat that.
You just crank it or work it?
Just work it real slow. Just keep it near the surface and just wind it back to you. You don't have to impart a whole lot of action. I mean, the biggest one I caught last year was 63 pounds, and he was just sitting. I was running to where I saw some birds working on some, and I almost hit him. He looked like a log laying in the water, and I turned the boat around and drove up to him and pitched him. And they will eat the bucktail pretty well. Now, if they don't eat the bucktail and you see them, you can always get up to these schools of menhaden, take that bucktail and rip it through there, get you a pogey, put it on that jig, stick a pogey on that whole jig and throw it to him. Then he'll probably eat it. If not, sometimes he still won't eat, but there's ways to get them. Sometimes they'll act a little funny. They'll follow stuff, but most of the time they're going to eat that bucktail, and it's a good idea in the springtime to definitely everybody have a heavy rod with a bucktail. Like I've been fishing for the bonitas, the 1st week of May, and have a big cobia come up in the 1st week of May and not have anything big enough ready for them. Be like, oh man. And then of course you pitch in your little jig on your 8-pound line and you never see them again after you hook them on a little tiny outfit. I mean, it's possible, but a lot of times it's just good to have that thing ready to go.
Do you hook the pogey through the nose? Or?
If I was going to be hooking him on a jig to trail him like that, yeah. I would just least resistance and just slip it out there to him, even crank it back a little, injure him a little bit or something. put them on there whichever way you swim. I'd say probably chin up with that jig, you know, because it pulls through like that. But that would be on, you know, one of your last resorts for that.
Jamie, have you ever tried that Gulf eel?
No, but I guarantee they love eels, and I bet they would eat it. I've got some Berkeley Power eels too that I'd like to try on them, but I haven't because I always just seem to have that because I know that they like that a lot. And it's when you got that big single hook in that jaw, it's safer than about anything else you can get in there. But I don't know how those things are rigged, but I bet they would eat it because they do love eels, and where they're readily available. You know, up to the north of us, all the tackle shops carry eels. So when they're out chasing these bait balls on the beach, they keep eels handy on rods rigged. And they also do catch them with bucktails there too, where they do readily get eels. But the eels are a good way to go too.